It's time once again for the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us. Joined by Heidi Nelson, the Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
We've got a number of items to talk about. It was about an hour, 20-minute meeting on June 5th. We also had a meeting before the meeting, and we've got a number of things coming up around town. As you imagine, springtime, summertime, a lot going on in the city. But let's begin with the meeting before the meeting. And this is not unusual to have some work sessions and discussions ahead of time. So what was the topic and what was discussed?
Yeah, so the topic for the evening was what's now being called the Maple Grove Innovation Center. I think previously it's been a concept that's been being moved forward by the Maple Grove Arts Center. There's certainly a component of this, but from a facility perspective, they've sort of broadened the notion of the facility to include sort of co-working spaces, some more space for maker space, that kind of thing, that broadens it to more of an innovation center type concept. So they have sort of a rough outline of what a facility might look like. This was the council's first opportunity to kind of see that and hear from the group about what their thoughts are. Not really any direction or you know, feedback given that evening. We kind of ran close on time. There's a lot of information to share. So I think the council will circle back on this one. And certainly lots more discussion to come. This will be kind of a big, if this project gets legs, a big undertaking for both the Innovation Center Group and the city, and many decisions yet to be made about whether, you know, the project is feasible and has support here in the community. So this was kind of the first go at it. I think the Arts Center had been in front of the council probably about a year ago, December. I think it was my very first council meeting, actually, where they talked about kind of the economic impact of arts in the community. So this was kind of the next step. So more to come on this one. June 19th, we'll circle back with the council and get some direction about where they see this headed.
And potentially might go to another commission or committee within the city. Is that a possibility with this?
Yeah, I think it is a possibility. We have a Citizens Advisory Committee that, you know, has a history and a track record of kind of taking on these facility projects and looking at them from a feasibility perspective, looking at the, you know, its relationship to the broader community and doing some analysis and legwork for the council. Okay,
very good. Well, we'll give you an update of if it does come before the meeting on the 19th and where that progress happens. Other items on the consent agenda, one item was pulled there, and this is a neat item. Someone that's been with the city for a long time in a great area of service is going to be retiring. Tell us about Scott.
Yeah, so Scott Anderson, Fire Chief, been with the city for a lot of years. I was going to try to pull up and make sure I say.
I had 27
you had
in my
27?
notes. Does that sound right?
That sounds right, yeah. 27 years with the city, and so his service has been long and dedicated and certainly committed to the fire service. Fire Department Maple Grove does a great job here for the community, and we're so thankful to the 95 paid-on-call firefighters that serve this community. It allows us to stay in that sort of paid-on-call environment, which is somewhat a rarity for a community of this size, but I think it speaks to the efforts of community service here and people's desire to give back. So he has led this department and watched it grow over that 27-year period. So things are certainly going to feel differently without Chief Anderson around City Hall, but a well-deserved retirement. I think his youngest child graduated from college last weekend, so that might have something to do with the timing. He's completed his parental obligations, and so he's ready to move on, and he's got a couple grandkids that he knows he wants to spend more time with, and he's certainly earned it. So lots of celebration coming up here. He's with us through the end of July, so there will be a public event for him towards the end of July. More information about that to come, and we'll be recognizing his service. But certainly want to thank him for his contributions to the community and wish him all the best, and look forward to formally recognizing his service as we move forward.
Yeah, great to work with over the years for me as well, and many ties not only to Maple Grove but throughout the Northwest area.
Absolutely.
So he was very plugged in and involved and will be missed.
Yes.
Let's move ahead to community development. A number of items discussed. We have talked a little bit in the past about raising canes. This is starting to move through the process, so give us a little update of where we're thinking that might go and where it is in the process.
Yeah, so this Raising Cane's, it's a restaurant that primarily deals in chicken fingers,
Okay.
but it's very fresh, all kind of made on site, homemade. There's a couple here in the metro area. There's one in Apple Valley, there's one in Blaine, I think Forest Lake, and then down in Dinkytown, I think was the first one.
Okay.
So this is kind of an interesting concept, neat architecture of the building. Their mascot is this dog. I think it's the owner's dog, and so there's this dog on the side of the building. But really great food. And so this is going to go right across the street from the Maple Grove Transit Station, across kind of from the hospital there. So nice up against Maple Grove Parkway, and will be a nice addition up there to the Grove.
And the time frame on that, I thought I heard the mayor saying that they hope they're open by the end of the year. So
I think it was more crossed over into the new, like
Into the new
early
year.
2018.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but they'll probably get going here pretty quick. So
Okay,
yeah,
sounds good.
That's a good one.
Next item related to the community development area was signs.
Yes.
Signs, not ordinary signs, but dynamic display signs. So tell us a little bit about what these are. And I know
Yeah.
this is something other cities have dealt with,
Yep.
and what's happening in Maple Grove.
Yeah, so this is kind of a small tweak to the ordinance to allow these types of dynamic signs in kind of the quasi-public areas of the community. These signs have become certainly more prevalent. Some cities allow them throughout their commercial districts. We don't have that provision in our code yet today, but this is kind of stepping into it and kind of getting a sense of how that might work. The other piece is the technology has come a long ways, and these
Sure.
signs have gotten to be a lot more attractive and, less, bright and flashy. They can program them so they're more aesthetically pleasing to the community. So that's kind of what we're angling towards here. So this provides the opportunity for those signs to occur in so those spaces where we have sort of those quasi-public uses.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Size-wise, are the size of signs changing, especially these dynamic ones, or not really? Stays
Not so
within the
much,
same
not so
ordinance?
much. We wanted to keep kind of the size to the same parameters so that we didn't end up with, kind of the more bigger, almost billboard-like signs. I've seen some of those around
Right.
other areas, and I think we want to be cautious about that. So
Okay.
I think we'll see how this works out and how it rolls out and see how we feel about it as we move forward.
Okay.
Yep.
Next item, last one within community development, is territorial woods. We have talked about this a few times. Again, it's moving through the process. Where are we now in the process?
Yeah, so this one is the development stage plan, and this is a project right off of just north of County Road 81 on Territorial Road, east of Fernbrook, so kind of in that that strip of land in between 81 and Territorial there. So this is 98 apartments and 69 townhomes. Kind of the first project up there of kind of more higher density. The land has been guided for that type of use up there, and we anticipated with the 610 project coming across that we would see interest in more townhome or higher density type housing up there. It's right next to the Elm Creek Park Reserve, so they have nice park access. So this project is at development stage. It's likely that they're going to get going this summer on some of the utility work and grading and whatnot. So you'll likely see that project start to come out of the ground, maybe probably in the spring more time frame.
Okay. And a
Yep.
couple projects we've talked about a little bit that we want to give you a little preview that might be coming up again. Applewood Point and the Hindu Society house scene. Tell us where those are.
So Applewood Point is a project. It's near Silver Creek on Main, which is at Main and Weaver there.
Right.
This is kind of at the farthest east end of that parcel of land there that Silver Creek
Okay.
has an option on. And so Applewood Point, it's about a 100-unit co-op building, senior housing, senior co-op. They have a number of these projects around the metro area. I think one in Champlin. They have a this is United Properties. They have another project here in Maple Grove too. But the newer Applewood Point type projects have been being built around the suburbs here,
Okay.
particularly in the Northwest Metro. So this will be a nice project. We worked with the developer, and the neighborhood to the north had some concerns about how the building was sited on the property, so we kind of moved the building around a little bit to kind of open up the east end of that, because this property sort of faces Central Park. So this one will come forward for kind of its final approvals at the next meeting, probably June 19th.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
And the Hindu Society housing, that continues to move through the process? process as well?
Yeah, so this is the housing for the Hindu Society Temple staff, and so it's just kind of north of the temple itself, kind of right on the temple parcel, if you will. Pretty simplified housing proposal for them to house some of their priest staff on site.
Okay.
And so this one's kind of moving forward now. They have a master plan for the entire campus there that includes potentially some senior housing, potentially a community center, an education center, and they'll just kind of continue to move forward with those plans over the years. But this is kind of the first piece of that to get that staff housing completed.
Very good. And those, again, may come back up in the next meetings. We'll give you the updates on those. Moving ahead to Public Works Engineering, the only thing Ken had to say was a little bit about road construction, which it is the season, so
We're in it.
What's the update? And there's one road that's a little different from regular roads in the street reconstruction process that people might notice out there.
Yeah, so we're doing Dunkirk, which is kind of a major connector over there. Particularly, it's basically from the connection at Weaver all the way up to the more commercial district by Walmart and Sam's Club up there, up to the County Road 30 intersection. And so this is a roadway that we're doing a mill and overlay there. We're pulling out a lot of the sidewalk entry points to upgrade those to be ADA compliant.
Okay.
There was some storm drainage issues in this area that we wanted to address when we got in there. So this one, I think, has a lot of impact to the traveling public and people who use that path to come up, access the freeway, or they live in those neighborhoods over there. And then, of course, Dunkirk, continues on to the south and is a major connector down there, too. So this road carries a lot of traffic. One of the benefits of this project is we are constructing a northbound Dunkirk to westbound Weaver right turn lane. So it will allow 2 lanes of traffic to continue through northbound, and then we'll have that turn lane, because I think right now we end up with a lot of that stacking there that people aren't able to continue through as they're waiting to turn right, because a lot of people take that path to take Weaver and to access the interstate system. So hopefully that pain will be worth it. We know there's been backups out there, but they're moving quickly on this one. They thought probably another 3 weeks and they'd be out of there. So hopefully people can put up with it for a few more weeks, and maybe by the 4th of July we'll be out of there.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah.
All right, moving ahead to a couple of the administrative items. We've been giving you the legislature watch over the past couple months, and it's still not complete, but at least you have a little completion on one point. Tell us about the TIF district.
Yeah, so the tax bill ended up getting signed by the governor. There was some thought that he was just going to let it, not sign it and let it become law, but then there was some disagreement about whether that would be a pocket veto or would it actually become law.
Okay.
So he ended up signing it. So that was a good thing. Our gravel mining area TIF district amendments were sitting in that tax bill. This is something we worked on last year and kind of picked it up and with the same language this year. Basically what it does is it gives us a little bit more of a robust tool out there for tax increment financing, a little more latitude and authority about how we can spend those increment dollars. So this was a good legislative approval for the city of Maple Grove. So from here we need to work on establishing the project area and putting together the TIF plan for that district, or for that legislative area, and those things will come back before the council here in the next couple months.
All right, so that's the positive note. I should ask about 610, which may not be as positive. So where are we? Are there any discussions happening?
Yeah, so we ended up not really, there's always been this issue over earmarking projects in the bonding bill and whatnot, and they ended up not sort of calling out either this project and last year, Brockton was named in there, and that project didn't get named this year either. So the project didn't get named for funding. However, a good amount of dollars were provided to road and bridge projects in terms of corridors of commerce and the transportation economic development program. So I think the good news is there's going to be dollars available.
Right.
Maybe the difficult news is we're not the only one that's going to chase them. And so we're up against a lot of competition to do that. Just before I came over here, I caught a story that aired on KARE 11 last night about sort of the difficulties with 610 now that it's connected to 94 and the congestion we're seeing up there on the westbound 94 corridor. And, I think Ken Ashfeld was interviewed for that story, and I think his message is that, this is sort of the impact when we construct these projects in phases, and that gets done because of that's the funding that's available to construct
Sure.
at this time. And so, 610 was done that way for the last 30 years across the whole
Yes,
North Metro. 40 years, actually. And so I think that's the challenge, is that, this last measure, we need some additional capacity out there on the 94 corridor to accommodate the volume. I think the volume that 610 is experiencing speaks to the demand for that type of a connection across the North Metro. And so we're going to continue to work on that and push at the MnDOT level to see if we can't get lined up for some of that funding that was allocated to those programs. We think it's an important project, not only to complete 610, but to get those auxiliary lanes in and then see that Brockton improvement. I think that'd help round things out up there. So it ain't over yet, but
More to come.
More to come, but we're going to keep pushing on that one, but real happy about the outcome of the tax bill.
Very good.
Yep.
Final note we want to make from the meeting was something about shopping centers, and I understand even this morning, as we're
Yes.
taping this here in the middle or the early part of June, you had a chance
Yeah.
to go with Carrie and talk a little bit about shopping centers. So give us the reason behind this get-together and what you learned from it.
Yeah, so this was the Minnesota Shopping Center Association. They host different professional development from a real estate broker perspective. You can get continuing education credits at these sessions. But so the Minnesota Shopping Center Association invited the cities of Maple Grove, Woodbury, and Eagan to come talk about kind of the condition of retail in their communities and maybe some forecast and how we're working with our retailers to try to remain vibrant, but also where are the opportunities potentially for new or different retail. So each of us had an opportunity to present kind of our story in Maple Grove for our community, and so we did that on behalf of Maple Grove and kind of presented sort of the history of what's been built here and the foundation that has been left in this great legacy that now is carried forward, all the way from the first retail that was constructed up off of Weaver in '94,
Sure.
and then all the way around now to the fountains, and then the village at Arbor Lakes, this kind of fourth corner.
Right.
So it was a good exchange. I learned much about Eagan and Woodbury. I think I consider Woodbury's kind of our sister community on the east side. We're always kind of they got Portillo's, we got Portillo's.
Right.
They get this, we get that. It's kind of
In
like
the news together.
Yeah, they're kind of similar markets, and so I think the development community kind of sees them as their east and west metro opportunity areas. So it was a good morning to share our story and talk about the future opportunities that are here, not only in the gravel mining area, but up in the Grove 610 area. So always fun to get out and do those kinds of programs.
All right, we will keep the
Yes.
pulse on that too and let you know if we hear more related to that. So that was the meeting on the 5th, again, a very full meeting. Now let's move ahead to some things happening in the community, so you might want to get your calendar out because there's a lot going on. And if you're watching us early in the replays, you can still get in on this. Chalk Fest is coming.
Yes.
It's the 10th and 11th from 10 to 5 p.m. Where does this happen and what's a Chalk Fest?
Yeah, so right on Main Street.
Okay.
So kind of right at the corner by the Government Center where Dunn Brothers and Clad is. So the street gets closed there and then goes, I think, kind of right to before the last block.
Okay.
That's closer to Elm Creek Boulevard,
Sure.
so that people can get in and out of the back side of there. It's really amazing. If you haven't been, you should come. These artists do an amazing job of doing basically chalk art on the street, and it is really remarkable. And these artists come from all over the world, so it's really it's fortunate that they have chosen to do this here in Maple Grove. I know a lot of communities, have wanted to do things
Right.
like this, and so the Arbor Lakes Business Association puts this on. There's lots of fun things for kids. They have an artist zone there where kids can do different types of art things. You get to vote on what your favorite chalk art piece was for the weekend. And then there's also some things over at the Fountains of Arbor Lakes, that there's some different murals over there, and I know they have things going on for the kids over there too. So
good.
great event for the weekend. Come on over. It is going to be warm out.
Yes, and
I'm
this is
hearing.
on the street, so
And
it's
on
hot.
the street, so dress appropriately.
That's right.
Yeah, 10 to 5 this Saturday and Sunday.
bring your umbrella maybe to create a
think that
little
might be a
shade
good
out there.
idea.
Might be a good idea.
Yep.
You had some visitors in town from Illinois recently.
We
Tell us
did.
how that went and
Yeah.
what you learned out of that as well.
Yeah, so Schaumburg, Illinois is a kind of a third-tier suburb of the Chicagoland area. So not just very similar to Maple Grove in the sense that we're kind of that third-tier, third-ring suburb. A little bit of a history with Schaumburg in that Mayor Stephenson, I think it was probably 10, 15 years ago or so, he spoke at a kind of a third-tier suburb conference down in Schaumburg, Illinois. So he kind of formed a relationship there back then, and actually they reached out to us and said, we'd like to come to Maple Grove and see what you're doing up there and take a look at, you know, get a tour of your city and understand more about your programs and projects. And so took us a while to kind of get everything coordinated, but they came on a Tuesday evening, the May 30th, and then they kind of explored on their own that evening. And then on Wednesday, we spent the entire day together. So we toured them around the city on a bus in the morning, took them all around the 36 square miles, had a lunch, and then Mayor Stephenson and Councilmember Barnett were able to join us for lunch.
Nice.
And then in the afternoon, we kind of broke up into our counterparts. So Brian Townsend is the village manager of Schaumburg, and I got to spend the afternoon with Brian and kind of talk about what's happening in their city and where their priorities are, and what different projects he's working on. And then a little break, and then we had a dinner out at Rush Creek that they all attended, and more of the council, Councilmember Jager, Councilmember Hanson, Councilmember Barnett, and Mayor Stephenson were able to attend that. And we had one of their trustees, so they're our council members, they call them trustees.
Okay,
They're
sure.
village of Schaumburg. So Mark Madej was there on behalf of Schaumburg, and so our council was able to connect with him.
Very good.
So it was a really good exchange. They came back on Thursday morning, and we had a quick kind of sharing of people's takeaways from our exchange. I think it's always good to connect with your colleagues from other communities, and if for nothing else, to understand that the issues we deal with, we're not alone
Yes,
in them,
true.
and there's more than one way to solve a problem, and so sometimes just talking to colleagues is really good. I think one of the pieces about Schaumburg that's really interesting is they're home to 80,000 jobs. So they just have a tremendous amount of office development, much of which occurred during the 80s and 90s. And so they kind of hit that time in the marketplace where they were seeing that growth. They haven't had as much new office developed now in recent years. They just have a new Zurich insurance headquarters there. And so that's been a big development for them. But lots of retail. I think they're about 80,000 population, so a little bit bigger than us.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a great exchange, and so it was good to hear from Brian just about how they are moving forward their kind of strategic planning efforts and share some of that information. So it was
Do they have
good
a
exchange.
farmer's market?
They do.
They do. Well, Maple Grove has one as well, as
They
you
do,
know. And
yes.
let's transition to that and talk a little about the market here. Very successful in Maple Grove, but the start is going to be a little changed this
Yep.
year. Tell us about that and why.
So they're redoing the parking lot where the farmers market is.
Yep.
It's almost done. I think it'll be for sure done by early next week. So they moved the start of the market by 1 week just to accommodate that construction. So June 15th will be the first outdoor market, and then goes through October. Thursdays from 3 to 7. I just had an opportunity over the noon hour to attend. We have a lot of volunteers that serve the market, and so had them in for a quick meeting to talk about this year's plan for the summer markets, and opportunity to thank them for their service. So over 40 vendors, and all the popular programs are back with Kids Power, Produce Club, Shopper Rewards. The live music is going on, so make sure you stop out.
Great, great event. Then on the opposite side of the community center area, you've got the town green, and
Yep.
that's getting ready for action as well. So tell us about that season coming quickly.
Yeah, so the season kicks off Monday, June 12th, with a performance by the Maple Grove Jazz Ensemble. So every week, then there's different performances. All that information's available on our website. And then movies start on July 14th, which is the Friday of Maple Grove Days this year. So, and then they proceed through the fall months there as well.
Schedule on the city's website, so
Yep.
if you've got a favorite band, look there. They just might be performing in Maple Grove. And with the nice weather and everything greening up here, it's a perfect time to take a photo, and you
Yep.
encourage people to do that in Maple Grove. Tell us about the photo contest.
Yeah, so if you notice in our publications, we use a lot of the pictures from our photo contest to really trying to reflect the local community and the beauty of Maple Grove. And so the photo contest is open right now and accepting entries online through July 19th.
Okay.
You can submit, and they actually do prizes, monetary prizes for the winners. We do use these photos, so we're not out paying for, stock photo someplace
Right.
on a website. We really try to incorporate these into our communications and whatnot. And they submit some great photos. So whether it's from, of people or nature or whatever it is, or different buildings or facilities, events, we'd love to see it all. So we encourage people to do that and get out and take some photos.
And new this year, they're going to have some online voting. So
Yes.
even if you don't participate by sending in a photo, you can go in there, look at it, and you can vote to what might be your favorite, and it will be noted as a viewer's choice.
Yes.
All right, let's talk water in the city of Maple Grove in the fun way of people playing in it. So we've got a couple opportunities
Yep.
for that. First, let's talk about the community center pool outdoor version. It's
Outdoor
coming
version.
back.
Yeah, opens this Friday, June
Very
9th.
good.
Open daily through Labor Day. You have to have the wristband to be at the pool. And children under 42 must have an adult within arm's reach. And then Wild Wednesdays start June 14th, and that's $5, and there's like a fun theme attached to that with different activities and games for the kids through the day. So
All right,
great
so
thing to do on a summer
one
Wednesday.
way to stay cool, because you're going to need that. Another
Yes.
way to stay cool, let's hop ahead to Central Park.
Yep.
That fountain there has become a big hit quickly. Tell us when we can go there and enjoy that.
Yeah, it's open for the public now, open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. And I know I've heard from a few people that the playground has just been a buzz
Oh, I
every
bet.
weekend.
I bet.
We've had these lovely, Friday evenings or Saturday afternoons where the playground has been full. So, kids can go back and forth from the fountains over to the playground and enjoy a full day there at Central Park. So we encourage everybody to get out and enjoy.
Very neat place. All right, let's move ahead to August, get you planning ahead for August
Yep.
1st, which is National Night Out, but the planning really needs to start now in some of the neighborhoods. So tell us about National Night Out, why it's a big event in the city of Maple Grove, and what neighborhoods can do right now.
Yeah, so time is now to start planning for your neighborhood block party. We have block captains designated in most of the neighborhoods throughout the city. If your neighborhood is not represented, you can certainly give a call to Todd Strigi at the police department and get your neighborhood involved. But yeah, the planning really gets, it's probably been underway now since last September.
Right,
But
yep.
now we're really kind of in the swing of things. So we have a big kickoff that day, Tuesday, August 1st. That happens at the community center. Big community picnic, lots of public safety displays and information being shared there at that event during the day. And then in the evening, our police, fire, and city council and other local elected and appointed officials go out and visit all the parties. And we usually have kind of a theme that we share throughout the community during that evening. And so this year, I think we're focusing on kind of theft from home, burglary issues and that kind of thing. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about how we respond to critical incidents and whatnot. So
Okay.
lots of plans for that evening. And Maple Grove has been recognized every year for their National Night Out events. I think last year we got second place in the nation for
Very
our.
good.
We just have a tremendous turnout, and
Yeah.
this is what binds communities together and helps neighborhoods kind of watch out for each other. Helps us with crime issues in neighborhoods, and if people know that you're paying attention, they're less likely to come into your neighborhood and try to do things you don't want them to do. So this is real important to us.
So give Todd a call in the police
Yes.
department and they can get you set up. Getting short on time here, so we're going to jump ahead just to one more item that you should get on your calendar, and that is the Senior Health and Safety Symposium. Comes up on Thursday, June 22nd. Where will that be held, and what happens at this symposium?
Yeah, this is held at the community center. It's kind of an all-day event. Starts probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Thursday, June 22. There's speakers, vendors, prizes, and it's only $10 per person, and you get lunch out of the deal, so that's not a bad thing. Registration's required by June 16th, and you can do that on the city's website. Mayor will be there in the morning to welcome everybody, and this event is put on by our Maple Grove Fire and Rescue Department.
All right, couple other quick notices real quick to get you involved in things in the community. Pickleball courts are out
Yep.
there, so go to the city's website to find out where they're located. Also, the skate park is back up and running. That is right in the parking lot next to the community center, so take advantage of that. And road construction, as we mentioned earlier, is happening, and there's a great interactive map on the city's website to find out where and what's going on, not only on city streets, but on some of the county and state streets as well.
Yes.
Heidi, thanks again for
You're
your
welcome.
time.
Thank you.
Let's leave you with that next meeting date. It is coming up on June 19th, and that comes up at 7:30 p.m. Phone number at the bottom of the screen. Number of mentions about the website, maplegrovemn.gov, the place to find out more. And our viewer response line, 533-1710. Questions or comments for the program, we'd be happy to answer those. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us.